Hello, this is Ron Snyder of Plan to Win Software, and this is a presentation of our recent webinar executive briefing, 3 top barriers to achieving sales goals, how you can help your team shift from struggling to thriving in today's challenging selling environment. We recently synthesized over $1 million worth of industry research and identified the top 3 best practices to drive dramatic sales growth. We talk to sales managers and leaders all the time, and they tell us they're struggling. And the research bears this out. For example, over 50% of all forecasted opportunities did not close. That's worse than the odds at Las Vegas. Also, 26% of all sales efforts end in no decision. We can certainly appreciate how frustrating this is to go through an entire sales process, even having forecasted it, and have it not close. 39% of salespeople and 58% of companies are not achieving their objectives. And finally, though it's the most cost-effective approach to selling, which is to go after current accounts, 41% are struggling to renew business with current accounts. So we identified 3 barriers to success. They are lack of a strategic planning approach, poor focus and poor prioritization of top accounts and opportunities, and lack of coordinated execution and the coaching that goes along with that. So one of the things that we really identified is a cause here is people are caught in this reactive vicious cycle. However, teams that shift to the more strategic mode where they create a virtuous cycle where their goals help them generate strategies and produce actions that produce the desired results, their results go up. Let me stop just for a moment and explain who we're targeting this for. So if you happen to be on the left-hand side in a very reactive, relatively simple sales process, and you've got more people interested in what you're selling than you know what to do with, then we can understand how sales planning would not be very important to you. We're focused on the people who are involved in complex, value-based selling where a proactive approach does make a difference. You may be in inside sales or field sales or a hybrid of the two. And we're going to be talking to you at a management and senior leadership level. One thing to consider, if you have your team shift to a more strategic mode where there is a strategic planning process in place, this enables them to step out of the day-to-day reactive mode and reflect. And with reflection, gain insight. And with insight, produce better strategies that produce better actions that produce better results. As a matter of fact, the top salespeople do use a better approach and do produce better results. For example, 3 times bigger deals, higher win rates, and higher quota attainment. 73% of all sales leaders surveyed rated sales strategy and planning the most important sales management lever that they have. On the other hand, research also shows that sales managers are not doing enough of this. But if you do, sales planning increases growth rates, improves customer retention, and enhances cross-sell and upsell. So we created a sales planning proficiency model. Let me explain. On the bottom, you have planning going from reactive on the left to strategic on the right. On the left-hand axis, you have execution going from ad hoc on the bottom to coordinated on the top. So naturally, you want to help your team shift up and to the right to having a more strategic planning approach that looks at things from a territory and account level as well as opportunity level, coordinated execution, identify best practices, and coach the team to it. Your results are going to be dramatically better than if you're caught in the bottom left quadrant where it's just a very individual, tactical, deal-focused approach. To paraphrase Michael Hammer, re-engineering guru, the key to improving sales performance is not to do many things a little better, it's to do a few critical things in order of magnitude better. And our research shows that these are the three things to focus on: improving your strategic planning approach, having a better way of prioritizing and going after top accounts and opportunities, and having a more coordinated execution supported by coaching. So let's take them one at a time. So how do you know if you maybe need a more strategic approach? Well, maybe unpredictable sales results, inconsistent performance. You're wasting time on low producing accounts and opportunities, and your long-term and even medium-term objectives are in question of being able to be accomplished. Actually, world-class sales organizations did 25% better on key sales performance metrics, and here's some of the things they did. They use specific criteria to define strategic accounts. They have a method for pursuing opportunities and allocating resources appropriately. They're very effective in advancing opportunities because they have good plans, and they leverage the best practices of top performers and help other people do better. Let me give you an example from one of our customers, and actually we've used this with many of them now. Having a 13-week approach to the quarter can be very helpful. So in this particular case, by week 2, all salespeople had to have their territory plans prepared. By week 4, they were reviewed by their management. By week 5, they were reviewed in a meeting with senior leadership. And in that room, they had representatives of all different functions. And right then and there, you could get resources that you needed to pursue business opportunities as well as important accounts. And then they reviewed results across the rest of the quarter and allocate resources and adjust strategies as appropriate. So if you want to use this, of course, you want to set it up and establish the process and the tools to support it. Communicate your objectives and the benefits to the team so they can get behind it. Train them on the process. We've already talked about a number of the things under the weekly, quarterly process. But one we haven't talked about is the customer business reviews. We have found this to be very, very helpful. So after you create your account plan, set up a meeting with the key people at the account, including senior management, and review the business results you've helped them accomplish, the issues you've resolved. And we have found that this has been very effective in getting senior management in the account involved. And when you have them there, of course, you have the opportunity to talk to them about other issues and initiatives and identify new business opportunities to help them. So another thing that we look at is, so what are the top 4 best practices that we've seen? Well, number 1 is that quarterly planning process we just talked about. Another one is to share high impact observations about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, how people translate them to strategies and tactics and activities and share them across the team. Obviously, it's very important to help the team have more coordinated execution, especially when there's multiple parties within your company involved. And of course, it's very important to have leadership support of the process and tools, but not only senior leadership, but also first-line sales management. Those people, research has shown, have the greatest single impact on what a sales team does. So we shared this with our recent webinar attendees and asked them what they felt was the greatest value to them. And the one that they selected was making sure you have leadership and sales management support of the process and tools. So here's what a couple of our customers say about having strategic planning tools is having these apps helps transform Salesforce from a data repository into a strategic selling tool. Also, from a business development manager, a person on the street actually executing their plan, they felt that having their plan in their CRM, Salesforce in this case, really helped them manage their plan. So that was barrier number one, which is lack of a strategic planning approach. Barrier number two is poor focus on top accounts and opportunities. So how do you know if you need to focus on this area? Well, for one, you have a very deal focus going on in your team. Uh, People are wasting time on poorly qualified opportunities and therefore missing other opportunities. There's a poor use of resources, and you notice that cost of sales is going up. And you're not developing the kind of strategic relationships that are so important to really penetrating a large and important account. As a matter of fact, the research shows that salespeople who do a good job of account planning are 41% more likely to achieve quota. Certainly, everyone would like to have that kind of a percentage in their favor. So, another research study showed, actually, this was working with GE, and they looked at thousands of accounts and developed criteria from the bottoms up, reprioritized their accounts, and noticed that the top 30% of accounts were 3 times more likely to buy. And by doing this reprioritization, their sales went up dramatically. Other results, higher win rates, increase in margins in the semiconductor business, which is, of course, very difficult business to increase your margins. And of course, we all know that the top 20% of customers produce the lion's share of the revenue. And that's why 80% of sales leaders said that key account planning is either mission critical or very important. So this is, again, one of those things that you really want to do. And you want to have your account plans in your CRM. That's the most effective way of doing it. Another perspective, so many teams, 47% of teams need improvement in key targeting key prospects and developing effective account plans. And so here's something to consider. If you look at this 2x2 matrix, on the bottom, going from left to right, you have performance of the account, going from low performing to high performing. And then on the y-axis, going from bottom to top, low to high potential of the account, looking forward into the future. And so obviously you want to not put too much of your time and resources into quadrant D, where it's got limited potential and not performing very well, and certainly good qualifying criteria will help you there. But it can be enticing to put maybe more resources than you really want to into quadrant C, which are producing pretty good results now, but have limited potential for the future. So you want to look at this as sort of a portfolio management of your time and resources. And so you want to reallocate maybe some of the time and resources spent on your quadrant C into your quadrant B, which really have great potential. This is where your growth is going to come from. And then, of course, you want to help shift them to A performing accounts that are great performers now and have great potential into the future. And of course, you want to really focus your resources there. So here are 4 best practices around focusing on top accounts and opportunities. Very important one to do is to create criteria to prioritize accounts and opportunities. We've helped a number of our accounts do this, and they've had great results with this. And then you want to have a systematic approach for allocating resources to accounts. For example, many of our accounts require that an account plan or a territory plan is in place to get access to certain resources. You want to review strategies regularly because things change. You want to help people execute and implement them effectively, and you want to get the team involved. And here, you know, large accounts, it's so hard to know everything that's going on in an account and an opportunity. And if you get the input from everyone across the team and even beyond the account team elsewhere in your company and partners and network people, it's going to improve the quality of your strategy and the quality of your execution. So we asked our webinar attendees about this, and it was a tie. They felt both creating the criteria and getting the team involved were both very high value best practices. Here's what one of our accounts says about account focus. They've had double-digit growth over the last 3 years, and having an account plan helps them apply critical thinking that helps them manage their accounts more effectively and contributes to their great sales growth. So that was the first two barriers to success, and now we'd like to focus on the third, lack of coordinated execution and coaching. And impact of this is actions are not guided by strategic objectives, which creates poor use of time and resources. Deals can stall and get lost when they might have been able to be won. And you're not increasing your staff's skill set, especially around creating and executing good sales plans. So what can you do? Well, one of the key things that you can do is apply sales coaching. You can see the results are dramatic, 88% improvement in sales productivity, 56% increase in customer loyalty, and a really good return on investment. However, research also shows in order to get these benefits, sales managers need to give more focus to planning and more focus on proactive review. And then use that to help develop their people, to learn these skills. And of course, with your greater insight into what's going on in the account, you can apply your and other resources across your business to the account at the appropriate time in the appropriate way. And it's very important also to get technology to assist you to have your plans in a CRM gives you the visibility you need, and you want to have dashboards and reports that gives you insight so you can coach more effectively and the team does better and results go up. So here are the 4 best practices around coaching and execution of the plan. One is to plan, observe, and review sales calls. I emphasize plan here, so you want to plan, observe, and then review and give feedback. Another is to coach on the account strategy level. Make sure we're maintaining that momentum in your key accounts. Identify and communicate best practices across the team is the third. And then have team members share their best practices. What better way to get the team engaged and to demonstrate the value of good coordinated execution, but then to have somebody share how their account plan helped them win this opportunity and penetrate this account more effectively. So the results from our recent webinar, which of these best practices people use most often? They communicate best practices across the team most often. And then tied for number 2, we're having team members share and coach on account strategies. One of the things I observe is maybe people need to do a bit more on the planning and the review of sales calls. So here's what one of our customers said about how they use the plan to help coordinated execution. They use our territory planning app and they use it in a weekly sales call. It helps create a collaborative effort across inside sales and direct sales and helps improve their results. So if you want to improve your sales results, what you can do is respond to these three barriers. Establish a strategic sales planning approach. Um, Focus on your high payoff accounts and have ways of prioritizing accounts and opportunities and allocating resources effectively. And then ensure that your team is executing their plan and doing it in a coordinated manner and coaching them to get even better at that. Well, a very important element is to have a good sales plan, a good sales planning tool that helps you do that, that helps you make sure you, for example, have clear goals and have enough in your pipeline to meet them. There's a lot of talk in the literature these days about the importance of having greater insight into what's going on in the customer's environment. And a great way to do that is to be identifying key trends in your analysis as you're creating your plan, and then have that drive your strategies and your tactics, and have an action plan that coordinates across the team. And of course, it's very important to have easy access and visibility to enable people to execute their plan effectively, to track progress, both at your level and at the individual contributor level. And of course, this helps you identify and use best practices. So here are some of the key elements of a sales planning app and a framework that you would probably want to look at. And really, it's responding to all the things we've talked about. Does it enable you and your team to prioritize and select your best accounts and opportunities, and then create strategies and plans to penetrate and win, and then have it available in your CRM so you can execute them and have good reports and dashboards to facilitate progress and your coaching of the team? You want it to augment your current selling approach so that it really supports your efforts. And of course, it needs to be straightforward, easy to use and learn, and thus give you a good value in the dollars and the training time spent. We've used this approach with many accounts. Here's an example in which one of our accounts in a very highly competitive, high value capital equipment sales environment was able to dramatically improve their results. So, if you're interested in using good sales planning to improve your results, we have account, territory, and pre-call planning apps that work in Salesforce.com. We invite you to take the next step by learning more about our apps via our app overview videos. We're happy to do a demo for you. You're welcome to get a free trial of our apps on the App Exchange. And we encourage you to benefit from good sales planning. Thank you very much.